Hi, my name is Morgan and I am a neuroscience researcher, and I just posted a video either yesterday or today, depending on how editing stuff goes, on some announcements for this channel. So if you have not seen that, I will link it in a card and also in the description. If you are at all invested in this channel or me, please go check that out just so you know what is happening with this channel. But if you're not interested in that, or if you've already seen it, or whatever else, if you want to stick around here and then go check it out, whatever your reasoning is, hi, welcome to this video. Today, you can probably tell by the title of this, we're going to be talking about how to become a researcher. So I have gotten this question in a lot of DMs, and I got it a few times on YouTube also, but I unfortunately lost the comments. So if you're someone who has asked me how to become a researcher, thank you for your question and your interest in my field. Greatly appreciate you. We're going to be talking about it now. Before I get started, I do want to say if you have any questions that you would like to ask a neuroscientist, you can feel free to check me out on social media and DM me. You can leave it in a comment below, or you can send me an email at askaneuroresearcher@gmail.com. So to talk about this, I want to share a little bit of my backstory. I am actually a first-generation student, and because of that, I completely understand how it can be absolutely terrifying to get involved in research. No one in my family does research. No one in my family went to college. My mom went back to college sort of around the same time that I started college. So that is my history with that, and I totally get that professors seem terrifying. Researchers seem like super intelligent, superhuman beings that are just totally unapproachable. If you've seen any of the Big Bang Theory episodes, they seem like people that do not want human interaction. I totally get the public perception of researchers, and I just want to reassure you, we're just humans. And so keep that in mind as I go through how to become a researcher. We're just people who work in labs. That's all that we are. So don't be intimidated by us. I know me saying that isn't going to fix anything, but we really are not that scary of people. Another little piece of my backstory is that I actually got started in research in high school. And that's a very unique to me type of thing. There are other people who did research in high school. What I'm trying to say is that's not expected of anyone to have done research in high school. So if you happen to be a high school student watching this, no one is expecting you to do research. But if you are a high school student and you are already interested in research, what I would really recommend doing is looking up your local university or the university that's closest to you, and then also the keyword high school research or summer high school research programs. Most universities' high school research programs will be run over the summer. You probably won't get to spend an entire semester in a lab. But if you just look those up, they're pretty easy to apply to. A lot of universities will have them, and they'll sort of place you in a lab. And it's a great way to get really comfortable in a lab setting very quickly, because you don't have to do the work to find a lab on your own, which is kind of the most intimidating part of getting started in research. But the rest of this video is going to be directed towards people who are in undergrad and looking to get started in research. So number one thing that a lot of people ask is, what do you have to major in order to do research? And the answer to that is whatever you want. You do not have to major in something even related to your field. My bachelor's degrees are in biology and physiology, and neither one of those is neuroscience. The undergraduate program that I was in did not have a neuroscience program, so I actually didn't specifically study neuroscience. What researchers care about and what graduate programs are going to care about is what your research was in. So while my degrees aren't in neuroscience, all of my research has been focused on the brain and on neuroscience, and that is really what matters. So major in whatever interests you. Make sure that you take some science courses that are somewhat related to your field. For instance, if you want to be a neuroscientist, if your university offers neuroscience classes, definitely take those. But if they don't, take some psychology classes and make sure that you have a strong biology background, because that's really what's going to matter in a neuroscience program specifically. What you really want to be focused on in undergrad is getting some research experience. You will be expected to have had probably around a year of research experience. If you've had more than that, it makes you a really awesome candidate for graduate programs. But additionally, if you're not totally sure that you want to go into research, if you think you might want to go into medicine, vet school, anything else science related, all of those programs will also love some research experience. So getting research experience is not going to harm you in any way, and it can only help your resume. I also really recommend getting research experience in undergrad because once you've graduated from undergrad, it's not impossible to start getting involved in research, but it is much harder. So if you get your foot in the door in undergrad, even if you just do a semester's worth of research, it's going to be a lot easier for you to continue with research further on down the road. So I know you're sitting there like, yeah, okay, getting involved in research is super important. I already know that. That's why I clicked on this video. But like, how do I get involved in research? It's a lot easier than it seems, and it's a lot less intimidating than it seems. I know it sounds scary. I'm here to tell you it's not, and you're gonna be okay, and we're gonna get through this together. So the very first thing you have to do is decide what type of research interests you. And I don't mean specifically like I study female brains and oxytocin. That's hyper specific. You probably won't find that at your university unless like you're at my university. But what you want to do is like, I like brains. I like the pancreas. I like lungs. Like decide like an organ or like a specific field. Like I like biomedical, like stuff like that. Once you've decided on sort of a field or like an area of study, then you're going to look up your university and the department that whatever that is would fall under. If your university has a neuroscience department, that's great. Look up your university's neuroscience department. If they don't, I would go to the biology department. Just look up whatever department is related to the type of research that you're interested in. They're going to list all of the faculty members in that department, and you're just going to open a million tabs at once. Open up every single faculty member's website. They should have either a university website or a specific lab website. So once you have it open, they're going to have like an about us or like a mission statement or something like that where you can get sort of a gist of their research. It's not going to be like super detailed. It's going to be like, hi, we study brains and how that has to do with dopamine or something like that. It will be fairly easy to understand, hopefully, if they're good at advertising their lab. So then you're going to filter through all of the labs in that department and see which ones are doing research that interests you. It doesn't have to be the research that you're going to do for the rest of your life. I've worked in a lot of different labs at this point. I was trying to count it, but I don't really want to. But I've worked in a lot of different labs at this point, all studying different things, and I am just now finally in the lab that is studying what I want to study for the rest of my life. But that research in the past in different fields and in different areas has given me a lot of extra experience that truly has helped me. So you don't want to be too picky. You just want to make sure it's something that's going to be able to hold your interest and something that you think will benefit you to learn about. I would pick about like 3 to 4 labs that look interesting to you to do like a further deep dive. At this point, it would really help if you have any friends or professors who know anything about research. So for instance, whenever I was looking for a lab, I had a professor that I wasn't necessarily close with them, but like I'd gone to a few of their office hours. And most professors, if you have at least somewhat of a relationship with them, they're willing to help you out. So go to that professor and say, hey, have you heard of so-and-so? Have you heard anything about their research? I'm thinking about reaching out to them. And like best case, that professor is going to be like best friends with them and they're going to help you get you in the door. And like worst case, they won't know anything about it. And there's like a whole gradient in between of like how much they could help you. But like it doesn't hurt to ask people if they know someone. If you can't find anyone who's involved in that lab, your next step is going to be looking at the papers that lab has published. On their website, they'll probably have like a recently published section. Just look at like their most recent paper or the paper with a title that's the most interesting to you and read just the abstract of that paper. I'm saying just the abstract because you don't want to waste too much time on this because the lab may not pan out the way that you're hoping it will. So just spend like 5 seconds reading the abstract of that paper, see if the research done in it sounds interesting to you. If the lab does sound interesting to you or your friends have recommended the lab to you, your next step is going to be to contact the PI or the professor that runs that lab. Their contact information will be listed on their website somewhere. You're going to send them an email. Now this is where a lot of people tend to mess up. They either don't know how to properly write an email or they leave out important information. So I will like put an example of a email right here. Here are like the key things that you want to list in the email. You want to introduce yourself, say hello, my name is so-and-so, I am a whatever year at whatever university, I am majoring in whatever, I recently came across your paper, whatever. And you want to be specific that you read their paper. I know you didn't read their paper, they know that you didn't read that paper, but you want to say that you did read that paper. Then you say, I'm really interested in getting some research experience, and it really struck my interest that your lab studies whatever. I was really interested in whatever technique was used in that paper. Make sure you pull specific details from that paper so it looks like you read it and it looks like you're legitimately interested in that lab. Then you say, I'm looking to get some research experience. Is your lab currently taking undergraduate volunteers? Now, if this is your very first research position, you are not going to get paid a position. I am sorry, that's the way that the field is right now. So you're going to have to say volunteer position. Do not expect to be paid as an undergraduate. If you have a resume, that would be a great thing to attach to that. And if you have a specific reason why you're interested in that type of research, that's also a great thing to mention in the email. Then you're just going to get one of two responses. Either the person is going to say, yes, my lab is looking for volunteers. Are you available to meet? Or they're going to say, no, I'm sorry, we're not taking volunteers right now. If they say the first one, they've likely already decided that they're going to let you volunteer in the lab because the bar for undergraduate volunteers is very low. So you're pretty much got your foot in the door at that point. If they say that they're not currently accepting undergraduate volunteers, that's not anything on you. I've seen a lot of labs. Most of the time, if an undergraduate is turned away, it is actually because of space and it has nothing to do with the type of person that you are or anything like that. So what you're going to do is, like I said earlier, you had picked like 3 or 4 different labs that you were interested in. You're just going to go down the list to the next one, and then eventually someone will say yes. Once someone finally says yes and agrees to meet with you, you're going to actually read that paper that you said that you read. The reason why I told you not to waste your time on it earlier is because the person might say no. But now that the person has said yes, you want to make sure that you know enough about the paper that you can have somewhat of a conversation about it whenever you meet with the person. You only need to read that one paper. You only mention that you read that one paper. You don't have to know every single detail about their research. They're not expecting that of an undergrad. But you do want to have some knowledge about what the lab studies. From this step, things get pretty field specific. So earlier I was talking about like generalized research. Now I'm going to be talking about neuroscience research specifically. So once you've gotten involved in research, that's great. Get your research experience. Make sure you're making as many connections in the field as possible. That includes talking to graduate students, PhD students, master students, your research techs. Just be involved in the lab. They're not going to expect a ton of you as far as work, but if you're present and you're talking to people, it's going to really help you get an idea of what you need to do in the future, and it's going to help get you some more personalized advice, because I can tell you what has worked for me and what I recommend to other people, but people who actually know you as a person will be able to recommend stuff better and give like better advice than I can just giving it generally. While you're in undergrad, you're going to want to befriend at least 3 professors. That's going to be your PI or the professor running the lab that you're in, and at least 2 other professors. This is because the next step after doing undergraduate research is to do graduate research. So you're going to need at least 3 letters of recommendations to get into graduate school. And the best letters of recommendation always come from people who actually know you, not people whose classes you just took. And by saying befriend, these professors do not have a lot of like interaction with students. So really just interact with them outside of class sometime. Once you've done your undergraduate research, you're going to want to go on to get either your master's or your PhD. Depending on what country you're in, you may be required to get your master's before you get your PhD. That's not the way it works in the US. The US, you can go either one or you can do both. It doesn't really super matter. And which one you want to get will also depend on where you're hoping to go. If you're hoping to go into industry, you're likely just going to be able to get a master's and be good to go, and that is the best way to go. I think you should get whatever degree is proper for the research that you want to do, not necessarily what's like the highest level that you can get. So then you're going to get your PhD if you want to like have your own lab someday, or if there's like some super specialized work that you're wanting to do. And this is why I say befriend people in your lab, because they're going to be able to give you better advice for like the specific career path that you want. I do plan to make a series about graduate school applications at some point. So if you have specific questions about the graduate school application process, please feel free to leave that in the comments and I will try to address those specifically. If you don't make it into graduate school on the first round, I highly recommend becoming a research tech or a lab tech. That is someone with a bachelor's degree who does research in a lab full time, and it gets you some really great hands-on lab experience, and like doing lab research full time looks a lot better on your applications than just undergraduate research, so it will really strengthen your applications for next year. Once you become a graduate student, you start doing graduate research. The different types of classes that you'll have to take depends on what programs you go into, so it's something that's important to look into wherever you're looking into graduate programs. And then from graduate school, you're going to go on and likely do a postdoc, which is just, again, doing research full time, but you're not really a professor. You're more of like a lab tech, but now you have a graduate degree. So it's sort of like a transitionary job. And then once you get done with doing a postdoc, sometimes people go on and they do multiple postdocs. Sometimes you only get to do one postdoc. It depends on sort of your career trajectory. And then you hopefully will eventually go on and have your own lab. That's sort of my ultimate goal, or you achieve whatever your ultimate goal is, hopefully. I'm sorry this was really undergraduate focused. That's sort of the best area where I can give really generalized advice, because once you get past your undergraduate, it's going to be very specific for the type of research that you want to do. So if you have like specific questions about being involved in research or different parts about graduate school or postdocs or becoming a PI, any of those things, feel free to leave those in the comments or shoot me an email at askAneuroresearcher@gmail.com. I really hope that this video has been informative and has helped people. I'm going to be using it as a reference for the next time that someone inevitably DMs me and asks me how to get involved in research. If you did miss my announcement video or you just decided not to watch it, I just want to give you a heads up that I have switched to putting out videos every other week. So I will not be posting a video next week. I'll be posting a video the week after that. And that will be my new schedule from now on. So I will see you guys 2 weeks from now. Bye.